does concern me because there is a lot of parking. There's not a lot of parking on the side streets. I have friends who live on Palm Avenue, and when I go to visit them, I basically can't. I have to park either in their private parking if it's available, or park way down the prairie, which is fine. I can walk. But I do think that we need to address the parking because when you're driving around the block a few times to try to find a parking space so you can go to 4 for $4, so you can go to tiramisu, so you can go shopping, so you can resell your clothes at Act 2, it's not conducive to wanting to go to the business. I've driven around a whole bunch of times, once just to go to a merchant on the village. And I don't think an Lieu Fee is a good idea right now at this point in time. I can understand the attractiveness of it because you do want to encourage redevelopment. You really, really do. But I think we really need to be cautious about how much vehicular traffic the village can handle and how much vehicular traffic the outlying residential neighborhoods can handle. Because if you drive around, which I shop down there all the time, I go to Sprouts, my friends live off the village area, on 4th, on Palm, on Lemon, you really notice that things are packed a lot of the time. So I think that it is, and a Lieu Fee to encourage redevelopment is kind of a good idea to get things processed, the economy. You know, if anything we can do to get businesses in is a good thing, but I'm not sure it's the right thing to do vis-a-vis the village due to the congested parking that's already a problem.
I am on the parking commission, and I support a parking and Lieu Fee. I think it's the only way we're ever going to have a parking structure in downtown Mesa, and we need it. I used to not go to the gas lamp because there was no place to park. And then one day they built a huge parking structure, Park It on Market, and I go there all the time. And I know that it's helped businesses all around it. As far as neighbors having to put up with cars, that's awful. I lived in Coronado for years, and they have a huge military base, and what military employees did is they park all over the neighborhood streets. Coronado came up with a sticker. You had to have it on your car. That meant you were a resident, and you could park on the street. Without that sticker, you'd get a ticket. So I know that it gets congested on the boulevard, but there's always parking in our parking lots, and if you're at the Vaughn side of La Mesa Boulevard, it is empty. It is wide open and empty. So I do support it. I think that if down the road we had a parking structure in La Mesa, we would see ourselves turn into the vitality of a North Park, a South Park, a Little Italy. But right now, because businesses can't expand, we can't build new buildings because we don't have parking for them. This has got to be like the only solution.
I think we'd have to be pretty careful about it. Right now, it's unfortunate that we need as much parking as we do. You know, long term, we need to attract development that's going to have people on the trolley and riding on their bikes and walking more. At that point, we'll be able to cut back on those. For now, I think that there is enough parking on the street that we could explore that option, but we need to be careful with it and eventually work towards getting us out of our cars.
I would think a parking in Lieu Fee is a last resort, not the first thing to turn to. And I don't think it's the only way to build a parking structure. There are a number of ways to get a parking structure done. Just a couple of them. You could do a lease revenue bond. We've done it before in this city when we built a parking structure and joined with Grossmont Center, and it served that community well for 30 years. We paid off the bond, and there the structure is. You can do a deal with the devil, and you can let Ace Parking build it for you, and then take the revenues. I'm not necessarily advocating that, but there's more ways than one to get the job done. And I would hope that the city would be open to putting a parking structure somewhere within the downtown area that would alleviate some of the on-street parking, relieve our local residents from having people jammed up, and bottom line, have people only pay for the parking they use. If you're there for 4 hours, you pay for 4 hours. If you stop to drop off papers at your CPA and go home, you pay for half an hour. That seems not only fair to me, but reasonable. Thank you.
Parking Lieu Fees has not been brought before the council, however, I know that it has been discussed at the parking commission. We had a study done, Kaiser Marston did a study about the feasibility of a parking structure, and it seems to me that it would be certainly a great idea and solve a lot of potential parking problems. Some we already have, but eventually we'll have more. And but we do not have the funding for this parking garage. But in building downtown, it was said to build upstairs, and you know, I have to really stop and think about that a lot to change the face of the village. I really have to have some data on it, because when I think of now making an upstairs in some of the places where you have your business downstairs and people living upstairs, that's a whole new concept for downtown village, and it needs to be thought about long and hard before we make any kind of changes in that way.